Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Sheet Talkers. How are y'all this morning? I hope you guys are good. And hey, glad to see some sunshine. How about that? So this morning, guys, welcome back to another episode of Sandy Talk Sheet. And I'm thrilled to be talking sheet with Miss Perla this morning, aka Pearls of Wisdom. Okay, nobody calls her that, just me. no one, no one knows her that by that, just me. But anyway, Perla, thank you so much for joining me today. Tell us a little bit about you. Are you really a crime junkie, or did someone just twist your arm to be on this show?
I think I am kind of. I think if it's fascinating enough, I'll follow it. This particular story I did because this lady is crazy.
Right.
So yeah, I had seen it when it popped up, and then I was like, oh, but I was busy doing other things, and then I was like, yeah, I need to come back to that. So
awesome. So when I did. Okay, so let me see. Hold on before we start, because I get ahead of myself. Before we start, I want to thank everybody who watches the show and then who watches it on replay. And I love your feedback, and it means the world to me that you guys watch. So before I forget, can you please hit the like and the heart button, and no angry faces, because I know who y'all are. I can see who y'all hitting the angry faces. But anyway, as always, viewer and listener discretion is advised, y'all, because this case is crazy. It does involve some sex and very adult content. And what murder isn't adult content? I mean, honestly, right? So, I feel like with this case, everybody has really heard about it. And y'all may be more familiar with the name Jodi Arias than you are with the name Travis Alexander. And it was definitely a household name when this happened. And being honest with you, like, I knew Jodi Arias had brutally killed her boyfriend. I knew that she was guilty, and that was it. And when Sarah, if you guys remember, she was a previous guest, she mentioned it to me, and I was like, okay, yeah, let me watch this, because I'd never had. So I watched a documentary on investigation discovery, and that's what Perla watched as well. And I also listened to a podcast on Spotify where they interviewed the prosecutor. And so that one was really good to listen. Hold on, let me look it up real quick, and I'll show you, and I'll tell you which one it was in case y'all are interested, because it was so good. And I should have had the name out. So it's called True Crime Garage. These are the guys that did it. And of course, the episode is just Jodi Arias. And then it says out beside it says 23. But anyway, so they interviewed the prosecutor. And so he gives a little bit more detail and into the case than what was shown in the documentary. So, Perla, how about you? How much did you know about this case before you watched the documentary?
I think I remembered it when it was kind of happening. And then, of course, there was, the Lifetime movie, which even made it more kind of intriguing.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
And so, yeah, there's a Lifetime movie. It's not quite as graphic as what was on the Discovery Channel.
Yeah,
But yeah, so the Lifetime movie, and then just coming back to it, I was like, man, this lady is nuts.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that the prosecutor mentioned was this became like one of those sensational things once they played the sex tape in court, and it's like, boom, then everybody gravitated, because guess what? Sex sells. And so you had everybody tuning in. But let me not get ahead of myself. So let's talk about this case. Okay. So let's do some background on it. So September of 2006, Travis meets Jodi at a conference in Las Vegas. And at the time, Travis was 30 years old. He was a motivational speaker, and they were part of like some MLM group. And so, of course, he's motivational. You're trying to get people to come on. And Arias at the time, she was 28, and she was living in California, Palm Desert, California. So I think that's North California. And so she was trying to make it as a saleswoman and an independent photographer. And the photographer part will come into play because that's super important in this case. And so they said that they instantly had like this connection, and court records indicate that they exchanged 82,000 emails. Like, okay, were you working? Because how do you exchange 82,000 emails? I mean, that's a lot of freaking emails. So in November of 2006, Arias becomes Mormon. She's baptized into the Mormon church because Travis Alexander was Mormon. And so in February of 2007, they begin dating. And in June of 2007, they break up. Okay. So they're no longer dating, but they maintained a physical relationship. So, what do you do when you break up? Good morning, Miss Joanne. Thank you for hopping on. What do you do when you break up with someone? A, you move on with your life. B, you move closer to the person you just broke up with. C, none of the above. I mean, when you break up, you're just like, okay, let's go on, right? But if you're Jodi freaking Arias, you move to California. I mean, you move to Arizona to be closer to the man that just broke up with you. So we talked about red flags last week. Here's a red flag, right? Were you
So
gonna say
her
something?
logic, yeah, her logic, based on that thing, is that she was trying to move closer to the Mormon community, because apparently in Arizona there was a bigger following of the Mormon people, from where, or rather, instead of like where she was at from
Right,
before. So
right.
that was
See,
the excuse that she used.
right. And that's what, like, her brain's already thinking, okay, her gears are going like, okay, so there's also a big following, Mormon community in Utah. So, and that would have been closer, but hey, you're going to go all the way down to Arizona. Okay. Not weird at all.
And
So then, they're broken up. So then he begins dating another woman. And so she allegedly was so jealous that she slashed his tires. I'm going to go ahead and say it's another red flag. And then his new girlfriend receives a harassing email from a Jane Doe or John Doe, and Travis is suspicious and thinks that Arias is responsible for this. Okay, so already this girl is like, I don't know, and maybe I'm not as good as a detective as I feel like I am, but she found this girl's email address and was already threatening her. Like, I don't know, because this girl, I cannot even. I wish there was another word for crazy, a better word. What's a better word for crazy? Because I feel like I'm gonna keep saying crazy. So
I would think
anyway,
psycho's a good word.
psycho. Oh my gosh, yes. So okay, but the thing too, I feel like, and God rest his soul, and Travis is a lot to blame here because he let her on. Okay, so the thing is if you wanted a complete break from her, you wouldn't even have entertained her, but he kept entertaining her. They kept having a relationship, and it was just purely based on sex. There was nothing else to it. So they travel in March of 2008. They go places, and in April, Arias leaves. She goes back to California. And so this is where I feel where premeditation starts. Okay. In May of 2008, Jodi lived with her grandparents at that time, and their house gets broken into. And one thing is taken from each room. I mean, kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
One thing, including a 25 caliber handgun. So this is 2 months prior to them finding Alexander in his home dead. So I don't care what they say. You can't convince me that she wasn't planning this. Because you move back, I feel like you're trying to already establish an alibi. Like, hey, I wasn't anywhere near there, right? So during the first week of June 2008, Alexander had told his friends that he suspected that Arias had hacked into his Facebook after he had told her that he wanted her out of his life forever. Okay. So in the second, Arias rents a vehicle from Budget Rent a Car. Okay. This is one thing. I don't remember if I saw this in the documentary. I didn't see it in the documentary. This is how calculating this little psycho is. Not only does she rent a car, but she has borrowed, prior to renting this car, she borrowed 2 gas cans from her ex-boyfriend. But she'd also, prior to renting a car, purchased a 3rd gas can. This heifer calculated how much gas she would need to get from point A to point B without having to stop, so that she wouldn't leave a track, like she wouldn't leave like credit card receipts or anything like that. Again, this is all premeditated. So she knew what she was doing. So the reason she was leaving California was to go to a convention. I can't remember where that convention was. Do you remember?
I think it was in Utah.
Right? Was it Utah? Okay,
It
so she
was
was
in
going to
Utah.
So she's in North California, and then she's going to go all the way down to New Mexico, and then I guess back up to Utah, but without trying to establish some sort of stuff. Anyway, she calculated how much gas her vehicle would need so that she wouldn't have to stop. Okay, this is some more premeditation. She put a lot of thought into this crap. So anyway, June 4th, they go to Travis's house in Mesa, Arizona. They have sex. They take sexually explicit photos of each other. And that same afternoon, they do know that he had an outgoing call and he missed an important call that night because, again, he was a motivational speaker or whatever. And so his friends start being concerned the next day. And that's when they go into his house because someone else, I guess they all call the police. I can't remember how exactly that happened. But anyway, so they go and find him. What's shocking for me right now, this part of it, was that his roommates were there. His roommates were in the house. They thought he'd already left to Cancun. When the investigators and the police get there, they can smell a foul smell. And you know what these fools say? They're like, well, it's a bunch of men. We just thought that was kind of how the house smelled. Okay, if your house smells like decomposing body, please do not invite me because I will be sick. How do you not know that what the smell is? That was just crazy to me. I mean, I was just mind blown with that. But anyway, so they do find him, and he's already in an advanced decomposition stage, and he's been dead for several days. But he's like been stuffed in the shower, like the way he's like in a fetal position in the shower. I'm not really sure. But anyway, so they found large amounts of blood in the master bathroom, floors, walls, sink area. And so ultimately, it was determined that he had been shot in the right brow with that .25 caliber gun. Where did that gun come from? Did anybody remember? Pop quiz. From grandma and grandpa's house. And it was found lodged in his left cheek, and he'd been stabbed 27 times. So the prosecutor in the podcast mentions that he's been stabbed, but he said because of the composition, it could have been anywhere from 27 to 29. They weren't able to determine, and then because of all the blood, they didn't really see that bullet hole until later on. So anyway, he had some cuts from his throat, from ear to ear. And of course, they found the shell casing that was located on the floor near the sink. And they did find a print. I think it was on the wall, like almost a whole handprint on the wall. And so they found a digital camera inside the washing machine in the downstairs laundry room. So the camera had appeared to have been run through the wash cycle. Okay, who was the photographer? Who was the aspiring photographer? Because girl was cray. That's why she had that camera, because she thought she was going to wash away the evidence. So anyway, they questioned Travis's family and friends, and they quickly say that they should question Jodi Arias. So Curtis is asking, how did they not hear the gunshot? I mean, Curtis, I'm in the same boat. Like, how do you not hear the gunshot? How do you not smell the smells that are coming? Because like if you're walking in, they smelled it right then and there. So you know that they had to have walked in that period of 5 days that he'd been dead. They had to have walked in and out and still didn't think anything of it. I mean, it's just crazy to me. So anyway, in the background, while people are saying question her, Arias has already called in and saying, hey, I can help with whatever you want me to help you with. And if you guys are familiar with crime cases, a lot of people people that are guilty will interject themselves back into the crime itself. And so here she is calling and saying, I can try to help you with as much as I can. So at first they're kind of like, oh man, it's just someone's concerned, trying to help, because that's what you want to assume from people. And especially since she tells them that she's in California. So they were just trying to be like, well, logistically, she couldn't be here and here. But they didn't completely rule her out, especially after they said, can you interview her? So anyway, the friends all indicate that she's completely and totally obsessed with him, that she wouldn't let him go. And whenever he wanted to sever ties, she would threaten to kill herself. And he would tell her he didn't want anything to do with her, and she would just show up at his house. And this is all coming from the friends. And some of the friends were even like, dude, we're going to find you chopped up to pieces. And he just couldn't get away. I mean, I'm sure he was addicted to the sex. And so the crazy part is, so she's like, in all of their pictures, she's this, bombshell blonde and, looking great. And then later on in court, you see her completely change her appearance. She goes back to brunette. She does the bangs and she does like this little side thing. And I was telling my husband, yes, I was like, I felt like she was trying to be like so innocent and be little girl like, so I think she was just trying to take on a new persona. And I don't know. I just like just watching it, you just knew she was sick. She was sick. She's got some conditions that are undiagnosed here. So anyway, back in the MySpace days, she created a page that says "In loving memory of Travis." And I wish, is MySpace still around? Can I Google MySpace and find those pictures? I'm sure I can. I'd love to see what all she posted. So anyway, June 17th, they bring Arias into the Mesa Police Headquarters, and she was voluntarily fingerprinted. She gave them a sample of her saliva for DNA testing. And while waiting for the lab results, the investigators were notified that they had found some images. And so this is what was crazy. So she thought she had deleted this. In the process of her moving his body to this guy that she didn't murder, the camera fell and took a series of pictures. And like one of them, she was like pulling them, and you could see like her hand and foot in one of the pictures. Well, she had made sure to delete those, but there was also a lot of sexually explicit pictures of both of them. And they were, he was naked in the shower, and he appeared to be posing in some photographs, but some of the pictures were dark and grainy. And anyway, there's so much blood in the stuff. But 6 other photos that were time-stamped the same day showed Arias on Alexander's bed. They were all nude pictures, and in some she was like in provocative sexual poses. So, hey CPJ, better late than never. Thanks for joining us. One of the during the interview, she like hovers over the pictures, and she's like, "Yeah, that looks like me." And I'm like, girl, that was you. And so she was just like, yeah, I mean, just acting. I mean, she was putting on some theatrics. And so based on that, they knew that she was lying about seeing Travis, since, because she had told him, I haven't seen him since April of 2008. Lies. Hey, Sarah, thanks for hopping on.
Hi, and
Sarah. Anyway, so yeah, so she, completely said, no, I haven't seen him in forever, and whatever. So she was there, totally there. So where was I? So police contacted her. This was in June, and they said, hey, you said you hadn't seen him since 2008, but these pictures are saying otherwise. And so she admits that they had been seeing each other as boyfriend and girlfriend for over 5 months, but they broke up in June of 2007 for some jealousy issues on both their part. And she did tell them again that she last spoke to him June 3rd of 2008. So I don't know. I just feel like she was just so methodical about everything. I mean, I'm trying to think of the word. Like, everything that she did was a very thought out. Okay, and I do say poorly thought out. I mean, what do you think about it?
I mean, yeah, like I feel like if I was going to do that, I probably would have just bought my own gas cans. Right. Like, you don't get it from your ex-boyfriend, because that's the first person they're going to ask. Like, well, what do you know about this chick? Oh yeah, I loaned her 2 gas cans. You know what I mean? Like, stupid. I don't know. She just, and then the one, where she said her grandparents got robbed and they took one thing from each room. Like, no, when you get robbed, they go through all your crap. Like,
right.
Like,
Right.
what? I don't think she thought the whole thing through. I mean, I guess she kind of was smart, with the gas calculations, but like, I don't know. She just, I felt like it was very heat of the moment, but not, if that makes sense. Like, it was
Right.
a passion, a crying passion, obviously, but like, she had time to think about it. Like, she knew what she was gonna do.
So and I don't know if they said this in the documentary, but I feel like once she learned that that he was going on a trip to Cancun with some other girl, and this was a girl that he had hoped would he could marry, that was it. Like, she just saw rage and it's over for him. And I don't know if he told him that to if he told her that to make her jealous, or if it was just say, hey, I'm going to Cancun with a friend. And then on that side of it, who knows if this girl just saw him as a friend. But if you're traveling with a guy to Cancun, isn't more than just a friend. So Sarah says this girl doubled down on her stories. Like, was she really that delusional? She thought the evidence wouldn't keep up with her. And I agree. I'm just like, okay, you're so smart, but at the same time, I feel like you're so dumb. And thankfully, you're that dumb that they were able to catch her. And even though this did take forever. Hey, Jamie. And Jamie says, hey, Perla, is that a cat?
Yeah, I'm sorry. She's so
Oh, yeah,
annoying.
I'm not worried about it. You can just hear everything. So anyway, back to her MySpace page, she put on there, Mrs. Travis, see you soon, my friend, but not soon enough. Anyway, so they bury him in 2008, and investigators find out that her hair and bloody print, that print that we talked about, was actually hers, and the DNA results that indicated that the mixture was Aria's and Alexander's DNA. And that same day, she attends a memorial service for him. I mean, she's not doing anything to help herself out. So, she celebrates her 29th birthday the same day a grand jury in California indicts her on a first-degree murder charges in the death of Alexander. She said maybe they were going to run into Ted's knife. They were going to run into something. So anyway, the police detectives, I can't, how do they say that? Siskiyou? I can't remember how they pronounce it. So they arrest her in Northern California, and she's on course of suspicion of first-degree murder. So then they extradite her back to Arizona, and she gets this public defender, and she enters her non-guilty plea. This is all in September of 2008. And she gets interviewed. Oh, now I know what you're saying. Into Ted Cruz. Yes, he brought us sunshine, Jamie. Be quiet. He brought the sun back with him. So anyway, so in an interview, and so this is one thing too that one of the prosecutors said is like, the camera loves her and she loves the camera. I mean, she was always ready to be interviewed, and if you look at her mugshot, yes, exactly, girl is ready. This is how ready she is. She tells them to wait and she adjusts, and then she smiles. Y'all need to Google her mugshot. It is, who does that? What freaking sicko does that? Somebody that doesn't even feel like they're guilty, I guess.
I
Anyway,
think my thought on this, I could be wrong, is that she thought she was gonna. I think she realized she was gonna get caught, but I think she's like, "Oh, I'm cute. Like, they're gonna let me make it." Like, that is what I was getting from her.
yeah. I mean, she definitely felt like she could flirt her way, because at one point in this documentary, they bring in a lady to interview her. And so the lady, they're hoping that, that she'll be, whatchamacallit, like, it'll be like a mom to daughter, like getting her to confess. And she's like, yeah, I'd rather talk to a guy. I'm like, what? Why? Because she can try to at least maybe woo him. I
Yeah.
mean, oh gosh. Yeah, it's freaking crazy. Sarah says, I'm cute. Haha, I'm cute.
Like this.
Right. She does, because I don't know if y'all watch this documentary, y'all see her. She is powdering her nose before she goes on Nancy Grace, and Nancy Grace reams her. It's so funny. Y'all need to watch that. I wish I would have watched the interview too with her and Nancy Grace. That'd have been good. So this is what she enters her when she's talking. Oh my gosh, yes. How do we forget this? How about her headstand in the interview room when she was
Oh
left alone?
yeah.
The headstand, and then she's singing what, like, "Oh Holy Night." And I was telling my husband when I was watching this, I'm like, this bitch is trying to be like, I'm crazy. I felt like it was one of those, like, I need to put on an act, and I was thinking she was gonna like plead insanity or something. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know why my phone rings when I have it on silent. But anyway, so yes, Sarah says, yes, I forgot about the headstand. Totally forgot about it. But yes, let's go back to that. So she's in the interview room and she's humming "Oh Holy Night," or she's singing, I can't remember. And then she does a headstand. But I really think, okay, she's trying to plea insanity at this point. But she really doesn't. And I don't think she pleads insanity. She pleads self-defense is what she ends up claiming. So anyway, so whenever they show her the evidence or whatever, this is what she says: "God knows I'm innocent. I know I'm innocent. I had nothing to do with his murder. I would never hurt him. He was my friend." This is how I feel when people bring God into this. I'm like, you guilty. Okay, because if you're bringing the Lord into the conversation, you are so guilty. So September of 2008, she's interviewed by Inside Edition. And so this is the first time she tells people publicly that they were attacked by two intruders. One is the man and one is a woman, and they were wearing masks. So let's see. Joanne says she's full of herself, thinks her looks are going to give her very narcissistic. Yes, I agree. She's completely full of herself. And let's see. Sarah says, I feel like it's a common misconception that you can fake an insanity plea. The test is hundreds of questions long and virtually impossible to fake. Yeah, I mean, so, but do you agree with me, or do you think that, does anybody think that, like, do you guys think that she was trying, maybe it crossed her mind that should act like that so that she could be guilty? I mean, that was my first thought. I thought, she's humming that song. It's not Christmas. And she's doing that headstand. And did she check herself out in the mirror? Like, I feel like she did, but I can't remember.
I think she did.
She did something and it's like, my man, this bee is crazy.
No. I know what it was. He was like, "We're about to take your mugshot," and she's like, "Can I clean up?" And he's like, "No."
Yes. Okay. You're exactly right. Yeah. Because I thought, oh my gosh, she wanted to clean herself up before she took that mugshot. Oh my gosh. I mean, honestly, that's probably the last thing that I'm worried about. If I'm innocent and I'm getting charged for somebody, like, I don't care what I look like. I mean, obviously, I don't care what I look like. I'm wearing a cap and
I feel like maybe she did start off with the intent of going with the insanity, and then to Sarah's point, she found out like it's a very in-depth process, and maybe I don't want to do that because I'm not going to pass.
Right. So Sarah says, I think she probably thought she could plead insanity, but at some point somebody was smart enough to be like, girl, stop. Because, I mean, because if you watch the show, you see she puts on like this innocent, very docile little creature, but man, she goes toe to toe with that prosecutor. And she was like pissing me off when she was like, well, define recent. I'm like, first of all, you can calculate how much gas you need. You know the definition of recent, okay?
I honestly think that's why she changed her hair color, because she went from this, and they keep saying bombshell, right? But she was very sexualized, like the way that, her hair was. She always had very tight-fitting clothes and all that, going to that, to like this, dark-haired nerd with glasses and, these itty-bitty too short bangs and this little clip over here. What's that? This side? It looks like this. Yeah. And you're like, what?
Yeah, and sometimes maybe the attorney will tell you, do this, to appear more. I mean, because nobody really likes you. I don't know how else to tell you. You're not a likable creature. You don't say that very often, but there are some people that are not likable. Jamie says, hood rat, hoochie mama.
Mama. That's
She
right.
did. She was so sexual. It's so crazy. So anyway, okay, back to this. So, she tells Inside Edition there was 2 intruders, and so in the Maricopa County, she is accused of this first-degree murder, and in an especially cruel, heinous, or depraved matter. And so following her arrest, she expands on her second story about the day of Alexander's death in an interview with 48 Hours. I mean, this girl is granting, I think this is what they said, she's like a lawyer's worst nightmare. She's granting all of these television interviews. The girl wants her 15 minutes of fame. I mean, she's going to get them. And she did get them. And I feel, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll tell you that in just a minute. She said, she admitted that she was present when he was murdered, but she said that the death occurred during a home invasion, and she reported that the 2 were having fun playing with his new camera when things took a sudden turn. So let me catch up on some of these comments. So she's saying, my mama don't like you and she likes everyone. Right? Yes, I know. Jamie says, I feel like I might need to actually watch this. You do need to watch it, but by yourself, not with your girls, because it's very sexual content. What's it about exactly? Jamie, hush your mouth. Go watch it. And a snake in the grass, innocent until it strikes. True that. And Jamie will love that comment, actually, because Jamie has snakes in his house. So anyway, so she says, I heard a really loud pop, and the next thing I remember, I was lying next to Travis in the bathtub, and he was screaming. And at that point, I was sort of just trying to come around and orientate myself to what was going on. She said, I just looked up and I saw 2 other individuals in the bathroom, and they were coming toward us. So she's got this whole elaborate story that they were attacked. She says she describes them as a man and a woman dressed in black, armed with a knife and a gun. At one point, she said the man pointed the gun at her, but she was miraculously spared. Bet she was. She said he pulled the trigger and nothing happened with the gun. And so I just grabbed my purse, which was on the floor at that point, and she ran out of there and she left him there. But one thing that she does say, she's like, I did try to save him. Like now she's trying to be a heroine in the story. I tried. But I mean, when she told 48 Hours, all she did was grab her purse. What did you do to try to save him? Because one, you never called the police. Like, I feel like if I was spared and I can run out of there, I'm calling 911 so they can go do something. But she didn't. So she says, I was terrified. I was scared for my life. And she said, I think there was a naive belief that I could pretend that it didn't really happen. Why would you want to pretend something like that didn't happen?
Well, who reaches for their purse, too? You're trying to get out. Like, oh, hold up. I got to get my Louis. Hold on.
Yeah, that would be me. I'm like, oh, my Louis. I got to go get my Louis Vinton real quick. Like, you can come back for that. Like, unless they broke in specifically to steal your Louis Vinton, then, I mean, I don't know. Let's see. So Jamie's not on because he said the house we looked at had critters too, Sandy, scorpions, bugs, and geckos. I think we're going to put a bid on it. Hey, congratulations. Not on the scorpions, but whatevs, yo. And Jamie, what's a Louis? Oh, Louis is a beautiful bag. It's overpriced, but it's beautiful. And I do own a Louis, so because I love it. They're so beautiful. I don't know why.
They are. And they retain value so well.
They do. I was like, this is an investment. So I told her, this is an investment in us. That way, whenever I no longer want my Louis, I can sell it for the same price that I bought it. So anyway. Okay. So where was I?
Oh, how she was trying to be the heroine.
Okay, yeah. So she tells him that she was trying to be the heroine, and let's see, what is this? You would own a Louis with the secret pocket for a handgun. I don't need no pockets, girl. So anyway, this takes forever to go to court, first of all, and I don't know why. Like, this happened in 2008, and like in 13 is when they finally go to trial. Anyway, so a couple of things while she's been in jail. She beats out 50 other inmates to win like a little contest for the inmates. And let's see. So in 2011, she wants to represent herself, I guess, in her appeal or something. Hold on just a second. I'm getting like, a billion messages for some reason. I'm trying to find, because I have like so many notes that I just lost track of where. So her sister goes on to 48 hours and does a 48 hours interview. And she said that Alexander's death was an act of self-defense on her sister's part during the incident, and she was a victim of domestic violence. And okay, so let's talk about this for a second. She stabbed him minimum 27 times. If you've taken your CHL, if you know anything, I mean, let's go back 27 times minimum, and then she shot him. When you take your CHL, not that she had it, but I'm just saying, you shoot with the intent to stop the threat, right? At some point, maybe first, second, third stab wound, I'm not sure what came first, the bullet or the knife. I feel like you've stopped the threat. Why do you continue to stab? If this is truly self-defense, why do you continue to stab? I don't get it. Like, maybe stab a couple of times and grab your purse and then run, but yet you stayed on there. So the sister writes, she wrote on Facebook after the Huntington sent her a request. She said, because she was so in love that the man she did not want. So that's another thing before I forget. She made him out to be in court, made him out to be like a pedophile, a sexual monster. I mean, she made him out like the lowest of low that you could make someone, speak. She really did speak ill of the dead. And it's like, okay, so again, if he is a pedophile, why are you still sleeping with him? Why do you still want to be closer to him? Like she did say a lot of is it, what is the word? Is it libel? Is it libel, slanderous? One of those words.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she did say a lot of things about him. That was sad. I mean, but also too, there is a recording of him saying, "You orgasmed like a 12-year-old girl." Like, okay, weird. That is freaking weird. Like, I would never think say something like that. Like, it wouldn't come to my mind, I don't think. But anyway, Carrie said, I'm not saying he never pushed her away, but I'm saying I've had a man put his hands on me once. He isn't the person I'm running to hang out with on the regular. Can't speak for everyone, but damn, you got away. Why go back for more if he's that way? Exactly. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, okay, no pun intended, but it's overkill. 27 times. That's overkill. I mean, honestly, especially for self-defense. And I don't know. So back to this, her motion back, she put in a motion. Oh yeah. So when she's in the courtroom, or was it, she was in the courtroom, or maybe it was Inside Edition, and she says something. Shoot, I lost track of it. It'll come back to me, I promise. But anyway, so yeah, so at one point she did say she was like super confident that they were going to find her innocent, right? Was that in the documentary?
I don't think I saw that in this documentary.
Okay, so it might have been in the podcast, but yeah, she tells them, she's like, I'm 100% sure that I will be innocent in this. I think she tells Inside Edition in one of her interviews. Like, so anyway, so February of 2012, the judge denies her motion to remove the death penalty as a punishment option. The defense argued that Arias should not face death penalty because she had not planned to kill Alexander. And I mean, come on, I've given you how many premeditated things. How can you not see that? You buy gas cans, you rent a car, you try not to have a footprint established, you stage a break-in into your grandparents' house, and you steal the gun, a gun that you shot him with. And how do you not know? So they have a panel. They like do whatchamacallit. The number was ungodly as far as the trial, the potential jurors. Like, it's like 375 jurors, and so they finally select 7 women and 11 men. And they said that that prosecutor Juan Martinez, he was like, she had various stories that she told law enforcement before she finally settled on a self-defense motive. And Martinez describes the murder as violent. And he said there was 3 different ways that Alexander could have received a death blow. He was shot, he was stabbed in the heart, and his throat was slit from ear to ear. Okay, so one of those was guaranteed to kill him. One of those was guaranteed. So why would you keep going? And so that's why he was trying to say there's just no way that she shouldn't get the death penalty. And so in one of his wrapping up, when he argued in his opening argument, he said, she said, "Mark my words, no jury will convict me." And it's like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, how?
Well,
how do you find a jury won't convict you?
she almost decapitated him, and they did say that in the documentary that the slit from here to here like nearly took his head off. Again, I keep going back to this because this is kind of how I see her, but I think she thought, "Oh, I'm cute. They're not gonna.
Yeah, right.
I'll be good.
Look at me. Look at me."
Yeah. That was the whole impression I got from her from this whole thing. Even her meeting, with the press, 48 hours. I don't know if you can consider that press, but with the media outlets,
Yeah.
like she wanted to be in front of people. She wanted, people to know who she was. And I guess we do now.
Yeah. And so she said that so her attorney, she acknowledged that Arias had killed Alexander, but she said the key questions is what motivated her to do it. So then this is when they alleged that Alexander had pressured her to having all sorts of sex through every orifice possible. And and then it would fit the mold of the domestic violent, what they were trying to was to do with self-defense or whatever. And they tried to say that he became enraged. So this is whenever everything took a twist, because she dropped his camera and she had to defend herself or she would not be alive. I mean, of course I don't own camera, and this might be a question for Joe Baker, but I mean, would you become enraged so much that you would attack somebody because they broke your camera? I mean, or they dropped your camera? I mean, okay.
You forgot the best part where he
What?
called her the three-hole wonder.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So going back to the vaginal, the anal, and the oral, that's how she became the three-hole wonder. I forgot about that. How did I forget about that? So anyway, this is another thing too, and I did not know that this is what happened. The prosecutor, so they're like on calls because they were asking him like, how did you get on this case? And he said, we're on an on-call rotation. So we actually have to go out to the crime scene and do our, initial investigation along with everybody else. And so he said, when he went out there, he just, he said, of course, it was already quiet, he's like, it's like eerily quiet and stuff. And so he's already in his head, just building the case and everything of what's happening. And so in the meantime, in the background, she's already calling in, about this murder or whatever. So she tells them, she's the one who starts talking about, well, he didn't have a gun in his house, and she knows that they found a casing. So she's like already given herself away in this instance. So anyway, let's see here. She this is all during court. She describes herself as a good friend, and hold on. She starts telling him how long that they dated. And so of course in court they ask her, did you hack into his emails? And she's like, no, I never did. But she also dismisses pretty much anything that the prosecutor was telling her about about like what the friends were saying. Or they were like, oh, well, they just didn't like me because I was the ex-girlfriend, and so that's why they were saying things like that. And so another thing too is she said, Alexander, she tries to say he's like really strong, and she didn't understand how someone could overpower him. And she said, I was concerned because he never locked his doors. So here she is again, even though she's already established that it was self-defense, but she's still talking about, he never locked his doors. It was, I don't know. This was funny. They asked her if she'd ever seen this picture of a French maid outfit that Alexander allegedly wanted her to wear when she would clean his house. Like, Come on now. She said she'd never seen that picture of the French maid outfit. And then the defense attorney asked him about emails that she sent where I guess, and these are some of the emails that he had sent that made him also look bad because he calls her a slut and a whore. But they had like very sexually, they were sexting in emails and so in her mind, she's like saving all these emails too, because she even saved a voicemail, though she said she'd gotten rid of it. She saved this voicemail to use because she knew she was eventually going to go to court. I mean, did she know, or did she had to have known? Like, why else would you save stuff like that?
Well, and that one that they aired that was like where the sister got up and walked out, was that the voicemail, or wasn't it like an actual recording of them talking?
Yeah, she recorded him without his knowledge. Yes.
And then at one point she said that like it was on an old phone and she had like it had gone away, like her sister apparently had it, and then at some point it resurfaces because now it's going to help her case, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, who records phone conversations? Like, that's weird.
Yeah. And I think it was her mom that found it. Her mom is the one that turned it in. And then the mom says something too, like, I think she's talking to Jodi and she's like telling her, and this might've been, I can't remember at what point this comes into, but she says something like, you have to get help for this childhood trauma that you've created. So she, from the get-go, had some issues. So she created this trauma that never existed because, again, and we all have different personalities. We're all raised by the same parents and we all go different ways. This one obviously went very astray. And she created this childhood trauma that never was, I mean, it didn't exist according to the parent, according to the family. So, hold on, let me see what Jamie's saying. Nothing wrong with the friend. No, nothing wrong with it. Nothing at all. If you like that sort of thing. Carrie says, Matt has never asked to see me wearing a certain outfit while cleaning. However, he has asked to see me clean.
Same, girl. Same.
Did y'all remember there was a service here that tried to do that tried to be
yes.
like a sexually cleaning service? Not oh my gosh, take that back. Not a sexually cleaning, but they would wear like a French maid outfit while they cleaned your home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that stuck around. I don't know. Maybe it's starting business. I don't know.
It's like that coffee shop, Ula lattes, where they're like in bikinis or whatever. Mm-hmm. But this was a cleaning service.
Right. Same, but different. One cleans your coffee cup, the other one serves you coffee. So anyway, okay. So funny that you say this, Tammy, because I want to say that they were happening around the same time, or Casey Anthony came before, and then this sensational trial came after. It was something like that. It was around the same timeline though, but no, they could totally be BFFs. Says, I wonder if he ever asked her to dress up as a little girl with pigtails to back up what she said about him. You know what? That is interesting. That is very interesting. I'm not sure if he did, but I mean, you would think she would have some sort of recorded conversation because, you know, apparently if he liked that sort of thing, that's a good point, Joanne. And so let's go back to this. So when y'all, this is what is freaking crazy. So they're finishing up their testimonies, right? And so he describes how she's like, as they're describing this, whatchamacallit, when she's telling him that the ME goes and has to testify or whatever. And so he's describing how he was shot in the right brow with the 25 caliber and nearly decapitated. And so of course they show the pictures and they show them, they're like, hey, his body was starting to mummify when they found him. It was decomposing. And the stab wounds, he said, were very deep and inflicted with major force. I mean, girl was angry. She was angry that he was leaving without him and going to be with some other girl. And you know what? I think they also interviewed like some of his ex-girlfriends, and they did ask him if he was ever like that with them. And I think one girl did say, you know, he just wants me for my body. The defense, you know, made that argument for kind of to make him look really bad. But I think Juan kind of saved it. And she was like, you were just writing that You were angry. She's like, yes, I was. Because I guess she had like a journal or maybe emailed them. I think it was an email. Do you remember
Yeah,
that part?
one of them, she was a Mormon, one of the Mormon girlfriends. And so she was like, I guess he was like, you could tell she didn't want to be there. You could see it all over her face. She didn't want to
Yeah.
answer the questions because if you answer or frame the question a certain way, it makes him look bad. And they had asked something along the lines of, was he like forceful, when it came to like sexuality? And she had to answer yes to that, but you could tell she was like, she didn't want to because she was a Mormon. So I'm pretty sure they didn't end up actually sleeping together, but
Right. And the thing about that was, I felt bad for her because, it was one of those where it didn't matter how you answered it. It was because how they framed that question and because they did have evidence that because she sent the email, so they had it on there. It's not like she could go back and take it. And so anyway, and so they said that he had they found on Alexander's body that he had multiple self-defense wounds to his palms and his fingers. And so they called that the ME, the defense, what's the word? They tried to call his, oh my gosh, what am I trying to say? They called him out on not having some sort of certification, like where he was trying to say something and they were like, well, do you know about this? Is this something that you studied? I guess they were trying to negate something that he was trying to say. But she said they weren't able to match the casing or the bullet to a specific gun because they never located the gun or the knife. So I'm trying to think. Hold on. Wait, there's what kind of services? Jamie, that's for a different show. Let's see. Question his credentials. Yes, they tried to question. Thank you so much, Sarah, for coming in and saving me. Yes, they did try to question his credentials as far as what he was trying to say about how they found the body. Let's see. Jamie said, oh my gosh, that's terrible. Tell me the names again, just so I can boycott them. Show Mel. Yeah, I'm sure you're taking notes. So anyway, hold on. I like took all these notes and now I'm like so lost where I was. But anyway, so closing arguments in this case, they all get up. Jodi freaking Arias, y'all. She now has she gets up and she's like, don't give me the death penalty for me. Just don't put my parents through that. But he at first said, like in an interview or something, like, give me the death penalty. It's just, but in her closing arguments, she was like, yeah, give me the death penalty or whatever. And then she picks up a shirt. She has a whole freaking commercial. And she picks up a shirt and she was like, this is for survivors of domestic violence. All proceeds will go to the survivors of domestic violence. And I'm just like, are you kidding me right now? Like you just took your closing arguments to do a shirt that you did for that. How did you feel about that? Because that made me so angry. Like I thought, bitch is crazy.
She tried to make herself repeatedly over and over the victim, right? Like she blamed him. She called him a pedo. She basically said like, he degraded her and he did all these things, which I feel like, having experienced some of that stuff myself, like, bitch, okay, you're not a victim. Even, I don't know, like, it pissed me off because it's like, you're going to take this moment to try to align yourself with these other victims and then be like, oh, hey, here's this nonprofit. Like,
yeah. Oh my gosh. It floored me. I thought, man, you have the audacity to go into this thinking because honestly, I think she still thought they're not going to convict me. So let me go ahead and be this victim and also say, oh, I'm also advocating for all the other victims. No, ma'am, you were a willing participant. You purposely moved from California to Mesa, Arizona to be with this guy so that I guess he could continue to beat you up. You were far removed. You were far removed. You injected yourself in this investigation. You came back before going to your meeting, you drove all the way. I mean, that's a huge, if you looked at the map, the way they showed it in the, I mean, that's a huge shortcut, a long cut. Okay.
Like it was okay. She was here and Utah's like here, and she literally went all the way down to come back up to over here.
Yeah, and then she tries to use the whole, oh, well, I took a wrong turn. I got a little bit lost or something. But yeah, so to me, I mean, it was just it was a shit show. Honestly, that's what it was. The whole her acting and the way she was towards that prosecutor, because I think at one point she even tells the prosecutor, you know, I feel because the prosecutor said, like, she compared me to Alexander, that I was too rough. He said, but she could defend herself against me. Why couldn't she defend herself against Travis? And so if I remember correctly, they declared a mistrial. And when I saw that, I'm like, what? Like, I had no idea. So basically the jury was hung on, was it her conviction or her death penalty? I think it ended up being both, because it was like 11-1, right?
Yeah.
It was like 11-1. And so then it was declared a mistrial. Anyway, she did go to, I guess ultimately the judge, I guess, was it a third time that she had to go to court or something? Because I know that they had like several court hearings after that. So she's found guilty. Okay, we're good there. But I think that they were hung on, I guess, determining her penalty. So anyway, finally she was given life in prison without the possibility of parole. And I was looking to see, you know, what kind of updates. So like basically, you know, when I told you earlier, she's not a likable creature. Well, her cellie mates don't like her either, because she's always like flirting to get special favors and stuff like that. And I think it was like in 16 where she actually got in serious trouble for calling one of the officers like some derogatory name or something, because I guess she couldn't get a haircut or something. Even in freaking prison, she's trying to be vain, and because she couldn't get a haircut or whatever it was, the situation. So back when we were talking about in the court case, Sarah said, oh, this
right.
That's exactly how I felt. And Carrie said she should have made a shirt for therapy proceeds for people who commit domestic violence. Agreed. Yeah, that's what she should have been doing proceeds to. And then Jamie, the jury was hung. Yes. What is it? 7 men or women? I don't know. They were all hung. And he's like, oh man, send them to Ula Latte. I think they'll be unhung. Hey, look at you. I thought you didn't grab the name, mister.
Uh-huh. He went back and rewinded it.
Yeah, exactly. So the prosecutor, Juan Martinez, and her defense attorney, Kirk Nurmi, they both have written a book, if you guys are that interested in reading more about the case, because and y'all listen to that podcast, because it was that prosecutor. I really liked Juan Martinez. I mean, he kicked a butt in that trial. And but his podcast was really interesting. But I have no interest in reading the book. But I just Googled something right now. It says that Flores testified that Alexander was shot before he was stabbed. So I guess I didn't catch that, but I just was doing some Googling real quick. But anyway, man, that's all I have, guys. I just felt like bitch is crazy. I mean, she's where she deserves to be. And I don't know. I feel like her family's kind of whack for still coming out and saying she was a victim of self-defense. I mean, yeah, of domestic violence, especially when you see the brutality of the murder. And when you hear all the sexual text and emails, the girl was a willing participant. And Travis was, what is the word? He was sprung. Like and then too, he was also, because, you know, it's a sin in the Mormon eyes to be sexually active and before I guess before you're married or whatever. I'm not really sure what their beliefs are, but you know, he also, that did bother him that they were so sexual, but obviously not enough to where he would stop it. So there's that. And I'm not saying that sex gets you killed, but if you date Jodi Arias, it just might. So what do you think about it?
I wonder how many prison pen pals she has. Like, I bet you dudes are hitting her up.
She has a fan club. She does have a
Oh
fan
my
club. I
God.
see that there are people, but crazies follow that shit. Just like that freaking Night Stalker. That Night Stalker, he got married while in prison. Yeah, yeah. And then
I'm
when the
gonna have to
lady
watch
found out,
that.
it's a good one. It's on Netflix. Y'all need to watch it. But when that lady found out that he had um molested children, raped children, well, then she divorced him. She drew the line. Like, you can kill women, but I don't want you touching babies. So she drew the line on that and she
Well,
divorced
it's
him.
like that chick from the Ted Bundy. Like, she did the same thing. Like, got pregnant while he was in prison, even.
Yeah. Oh, yes, yes, yes. I just don't even know like what the appeal is. So Joanne's saying, what was the outcome? Guess I missed it. She was guilty. She was found guilty. They did not give her the death penalty. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. So that was the outcome. But anyway, kids, we have made it to the end of our program. Thank you so much for watching. Perla, thank you so much for hopping on and doing this show with me. And
It was fun. Thank you.
yes, I enjoyed it. And guys, like as always, I welcome your suggestions, especially this one, Sarah. Thanks so much. Cause like I said, I'd heard about it, but I hadn't really dived into it that much. So anyway, Perla, hang on. I'm gonna talk to you for just a little bit before you go. But the rest of you guys, I will see you next week, hopefully with something good. Y'all send me y'all suggestions. Anyway, y'all have a good night. No, good day. Enjoyed it. Bye.